Welcome back. Now, as the 10th WTO Ministerial Conference ends today, Kenyan delegation head has expressed optimism about the outcome of the meeting. Karanja Kibocho, head of the Nairobi delegation to WTO, says he hoped the members will deliver very, very exciting news to the world at the end of the meeting today.
The focus of contention still remains the 14-year-old agriculture subsidy problem. During the session, Kenya joined a growing list of nations that have ratified the Trade Facilitation Agreement.
At this stage, members are engaged in intensive negotiations to reach consensus on a number of issues, including a date for elimination of export subsidies in agriculture.
The conference has so far reached some agreements. They include an information technology agreement that will eliminate tariffs on 65% of internet technology products. This essentially will open up trade on IT products worth in excess of $1.3 trillion. There has been a deal in the area of e-commerce. Negotiators agreed to maintain the current practice of not imposing custom duties on electronic transmissions until the next ministerial session in 2017. Beneficiaries of these include Kenya's mobile phone-based money transfer and microfinancing service, M-Pesa. Negotiators agreed to extend the transitional period for granting pharmaceutical products patents for the least developed countries of 17 years. This should allow poor countries access to cheap drugs.
The fourth agreement that has been reached is on flexible rules of origin for exports from LDCs. And of course, this is for promotion of exports from the LDCs, which will facilitate their integration into the international trading system.
The trade ministers also unanimously welcomed the accession of Liberia and Afghanistan to the WTO. Liberia has been ravaged by the Ebola epidemic for almost 2 years. Analysts say the deal should help build confidence in the West African nation's weak economy and reduce poverty.
Although long and tough, the road to accession has come with milestones of economic growth. Proudly, with over 12 unbroken years of peace and stability, Liberia created the fiscal space by removing our external debt burden of $4.9 billion through the HIPC process. Domestic revenues increased by over 600% at its peak, and substantial support to invest in trade facilitation infrastructure is being mobilized.
Joining the WTO involves a two-track process in which a candidate country must bring its laws into line with the WTO rulebook and also offer to cut barriers to trade, giving every existing WTO member an effective veto on each new joiner. The least developed countries like Liberia have been given an easier ride since 2011 in a bid to encourage them to join.
And here in Nigeria, the recent ban on the importation of low-cost generators by the federal government has remained a major concern for some of the citizens, particularly the dealers of the small generators. On the next report looks at the issues.
The harm of generators lined outside the small shops here are a stark reminder of the chronic power shortage that has affected businesses and households in the country for years. Power is one of the biggest constraints and investment and growth in Africa's largest economy, and small backup generators, popularly known here as I Better Pass My Neighbor, have become the solution for many to keep their businesses and home running. But the government recently slapped a ban on importation of small low-cost generators, citing health concerns and air pollution. The generators, which emit fumes, are often used in small spaces with poor ventilation. Many have criticized the ban and say the government should offer steady power supply first as a reliable alternative.
Banning of generator without having a substitute or another alternative will be a very big challenge to us, because it will be a very big problem in the sense that if you don't have generator, it will be a very big problem, because how are we going to cope? Some days we can stay here without light for like 2 days, 3 days without light. You will see throughout that week you'll be mixed up. So before they will ban the generator, they need to provide a means of light, which is the major option. That is the major thing that they must do. It's a must.
Power shortages in Nigeria have pushed up manufacturing costs, making one of the world's largest frontier markets unattractive, despite a population of 170 million. The ruling All Progressives Congress pledged in its manifesto to increase supplies from 3,600 megawatts currently to 20,000 megawatts within the first 4 years and 50,000 megawatts within 10 years, which will meet the demands of Nigerians.
You know, government, they promise and they will not fulfill their promise. If they can do it, I will okay by that one. Because apart my neighbor, at times you start it, they will complaining, smoke and everything, all these things, them both will complaining. If they can provide that one, I think it's okay by me.
Nigeria broke up its monopoly on power generation and distribution by privatizing the sector 2 years ago, hoping to attract foreign investors. But lack of investment in gas pipelines and transmission lines still owned by government means the amount of power produced has stagnated at about half total capacity.
For any production like our P&G, so for Procter and Gamble, they can never produce, they have no production using NEPA. They can never, because once the NEPA interrupts, they lose millions of naira. So they won't like any interruption there, so they run on generator throughout their production.
Despite holding the world's 7th largest gas reserves, Nigeria produces less than a tenth of the amount of electricity South Africa provides for a population a third of the size. Solving the problem would likely reduce business costs by up to 40% and push growth in Africa's biggest oil producer well into double digits.
Nigerians locally can invest. We have so much money in the hands of pension funds, in the hands of mutual funds, and several other funds where there's liquidity in the trillions of naira. And we keep saying there's no money in the power sector. We can get those funds to invest money in the power sector, right, with a payback period of X time, all right? Even in the rollout of meters, the government can also look to get funding or money from those funds, right, to help get meters into the hands of Nigerians.
Some $40 billion has gone into several power reform drives in the last 20 years. A report released this year by power industry experts indicates that there is potential for Nigeria to attract tens of billions of dollars of investment into the power sector, given the huge unmet demand from industry and the public.
Away from Africa, Argentina's peso plunged 29.8% at the start of trade on Thursday, in line with expectations. Now, after the country's new government floated the currency as part of a slew of free market reforms aimed at revitalizing the stagnant economy. It was the biggest one-day devaluation in decades, and initial currency market action was heavy and volatile. The big winners were farmers in the vast Pampas grains belt, who will start getting paid in stronger U.S. export dollars, while average consumers risk seeing their purchasing power fall.
By dollars denied to them since 2011, when the previous government clamped down on access to the greenback as a way of protecting central bank reserves. The peso opened at 14 per US dollar, less than 24 hours before Finance Minister Alfonso Prat-Gray predicted the currency would get to about 14.2 per dollar once the currency controls were lifted. The 29.8% fall was almost bang on market expectations of a 30% devaluation.
Naturally, when you correct the currency rate and eliminate export taxes, that leads to the readjustment of prices. And when they readjust, they will go up. But now something has to be kept in mind. Inflation is a monetary phenomenon, and it depends on currency issuance, which is going to depend on what the government does. With the currency issuance as the second semester, it can't be stopped now because it has been launched. The end of the year salaries needs to be paid. The provinces need their finances. By the end of the year, bonuses needs to be paid as well as retirement funds.
Mauricio Macri was elected president last month after promising free market solutions to Argentina's long list of economic woes. Thursday was the first test of his policies. His predecessor, two-term President Cristina Fernandez, believed in heavy state control of the economy.
We're expecting a standstill or a little drop around 0.5% in 2016, but with two very defined parts, a first semester with a drop in economic activity and a recovery in the second semester. The average it gives is a bit negative, and then already by 2017, growing at a pace of 3.0%.
Indeed, Argentines could get hit by high inflation before Macri's policies achieve their goal of revitalizing the economy. The opposition, loyal to Fernandez, warned the devaluation would dilute wages. Unions were already set to demand raises in line with inflation expectations of about 30% next year. In a return to policies that prevailed before Fernandez implemented capital controls in 2011, Argentines now have full access to US dollars.
I think we have returned to normal. I think that this country has returned to normal paths. The free economy is going to determine the value that the currency needs to have. We're going to actually find the way again which we should have never lost. We are looking at cameras, taking pictures of the currency exchange offices. This is not normal in any part of the world. I think that we are going back to normality.
Fernandez imposed protectionist measures as part of her program of strengthening the social safety net and helping local industry. She left the nation with double-digit inflation, a yawning fiscal deficit, and thin dollar reserves.
I think it's good that it is lifted and that the dollar continues to drop, and all of those who speculated with the black market rate are going to lose money.
Meanwhile, supporters of Argentina's former president, Cristina Fernandez, protested outside the country's Congress, fearing new conservative leader Mauricio Macri will change media ownership laws. They demand that President Macri keep media laws protecting against market concentration in place, fearing censorship if restrictions are loosened.
We feel that we have to defend some major achievements that have been accomplished over the years, like those that are related to liberty, democracy, and pluralism. We feel this is all being threatened. A clear example of this is the media law. They have evidently said in various ways they are not going to renew it. And for us, it's a very important element of the democratic advances of these past few years.
Clarín, the country's biggest media group, has argued against the law's most controversial clause, Article 161, to divest media assets, saying that it violates the Constitution by forcing companies to sell off previously acquired radio, television, or cable TV operating licenses. The law has been tied up in Argentina's courts for years.
IMF Chief Christine Lagarde to face trial over her role in a payout of some 400 million euros to businessman Bernard Tapie. Details after the break. Do stay with us.